All right, so let me try and make this format a little prettier because right now it looks all weird. 7.7. Cost of home ownership. So the payment formula we're going to need, similar to the one we used last section. Payment is equal to, I think the easiest way would be to just keep the top part and bottom part separate. So let me just go ahead and write this down. Then the way I'm going to write it is bracket for the top part. So P R over N. And then just do divided by and open a new bracket. That might be the easiest way. Just remember that this is on the bottom of the fraction, or use a division symbol, open parentheses. So that'll be 1 minus 1 plus R over N to the negative and T, close bracket. That way you don't have to think too hard, you just plug it in, okay? So first example says, price of a home is $280,000. The bank requires 20% down. And I'll switch over in a second. Bank requires 20% down. And 3 points at closing. The cost of the home is financed at a 30-year fixed rate of 6.5%. So let me switch back now. Okay, so price of a home is 280,000. The bank requires 20% down and 3 points. So I have to figure out what 3 points means. The cost of the home is financed at 30 years, fixed rate of 6.5%. So we're gonna write down what we know. Principal looks like 280,000, right? Rate is 80% or 6.5%. Which has the decimal is 0.065. Time is 30 years. Okay. What is n gonna be? Right, when is the interest applied? Or what do you think? Well, usually, you get charged interest every payment, every month. So it should be 12 times a year for every month in the year. So n should be 12. We'll check in a second. We got all the pieces, right? So let's go see what the question asked. I already forgot. Part A says find the required down payment. So part A, what is the down payment? So what would you do? It's close. It'd be just times. Just times. So take the 280,000 times 0.065. Oh, I'm sorry. 0. Times 20%, which is 0.20. Okay, so 280,000 times 0.2. So they want a ton of cash, 56,000. So that's a down payment they want.
That's crazy. My papa, you bought a house for about like 62,000.
63? Nice. Where in? Huh?
Missouri.
Missouri. Oh, okay.
It's an old house.
It's pretty good. It's hard to find
It's a really nice house. It's really nice. I mean, you know, for the price and everything. Because like I was telling myself, man, for that house, full size basement, full size attic, 4-bedroom, 2-story house, and I sounded myself, man, for that price, the house here probably worth about 150.
yeah, maybe it's haunted.
It's haunted. No, it's haunted. Yeah, it's haunted.
They're like the owner's like, it's free, just move in. I'm like, I don't know about this. All right, part B. Was it in a good spot though?
Yeah, it's a really nice spot.
Like if it's like right next to the river, I don't know. Find the amount. So flooding area. Mortgage. Yeah, the last 2 years, this past year, prices have shot up here in San Antonio. Like a year ago, 140 house is now like 240 or 200.
Already on the market for a good while, for like a good couple years, and it was starting out, I think, at 150 all brand new. And then within the last 3 years, somebody finally bought it for like for 40.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, they didn't even know how much it was worth like before, but
Yeah,
we were like all surprised. Like my dad was like,
yeah, things are going up. Like if you would have just bought it and then sold it for 450, you would have made money. It's silly. Yeah, it's getting more and more difficult. Although it looks like things are starting to cool down. Did they say payment or just mortgage? Oh, yeah. So if I'm putting 20% down, how much am I going to borrow from the bank? Right, so I'm paying 56,000 in cash. So the leftover, of course, is the actual loan. So 280 minus 56,000. What's that going to be? It looks like the loan amount will be 224,000. So that's part B. I'm gonna box the answers to be fine, so I know later. Part C, let's see what they ask. How much must be paid for the 3 points at closing? So here they define point for us. A point is a one-time charge that equals 1% of the loan. So to pay 3 points, I need to put 3%. Okay. But only of the loan amount, not the total. Because we already put money down, right? Let me write the question down for forget again. Part C. How much much must be paid for the 3 points? At closing. So when you're closing on your house, how much is 3 points? So you take the amount you're going to borrow and just multiply by 3%. So the answer will be 224, 100,000, 24 times 3%, which is going to be 224,000 times 0.03. So it looks like about 6,720. Any questions so far? Pretty straightforward. That's what a point means, right? Just 1% of what you're going to borrow. Okay, so if they ask for that, don't forget. Part D, now we find the monthly payment. The only question is, oh yeah, I guess we're good. Let's do the next page, maybe. find the monthly payment. So we're gonna use that form at the top. So the payment will be P, which is 224 times R, which is 0.065 over 12 times one, oh, actually divided by, not times. Divided by okay. I forgot to put the variables. I'm a little distracted today, I'm sorry. R is 0.065 divided by 12 to the negative 12 times 30. There you go. What I recommend, on your calculator, open a fraction. This is how a fraction ready. I put it in parentheses. This to be safe. 22400 times 0.065 over 12. First fraction, I open a new one. But after first do divide, open the new one, then new fraction. So that way it knows everything in the parentheses is on the bottom. Okay. So make sure you use your parentheses. So it's gonna be 1 minus parentheses 1 plus, and then the fraction. 0.065 over 12. Close parentheses, power negative 12. Don't use the minus, use the negative button, times 30. Close parentheses, all of this is on the bottom. That seems about right. So it's going to be your monthly payment for your house, $14.15. Assuming you have this rate, you put that much money down, should be good. Let's check our work. Let's check the answer. About they got. Yeah, 14.6. They rounded to the nearest dollar. So the homework should tell you. Now, part E says, how much do you pay in interest? Because the house is worth, after you put that down payment and all that stuff, you borrowed to pay $224,000. So how much did you actually pay at the end of 30 years, right? Let's do that on the next page. You guys cool on these first few parts? So E, how much did you pay in interest? Or in total? Okay, so I'm gonna round the nearest dollar. So we found the payment to be $14.15, right? Or let's round it $16. Nearest dollar. Now. I'm gonna pay that for 30 years. So how much would that, how many months would that be? Right? What would you do? So in 30 years, you pay 1416 times 12 months times 30, right? Or you can find the total months and then times. So how much money is that? 11.9? 763? That to the nearest dollar?
Yeah, was that came out to exactly?
Oh, really? Oh, true. Cool. $509.76. So at the end of the day, in 30 years, you're gonna pay $509,760 for the house. So how much did we borrow? Yeah, on the loan. The loan amount was on part B, 224, right? 1,000. So we pay in interest 509, 760 minus what did we say 224? So subtract what you actually paid minus what you actually borrowed, and then it'll be pure interest. Mm-hmm. 285,760. Does that logic make sense?
So that's when you pay the interest, it's 285.
Yeah.
And you pay 509 for the house.
Yeah. In total, you're gonna spend this much to own to buy the house. At the end of 30
Then
years.
that's and that's if you stuck with the 30 years, yeah. Like on top of what I mean is like you just make that one payment for the interest, not trying to double it up.
Right. If you only sent the minimum payment for 30 years, you're gonna have to pay this much.
Okay.
Now, if you double it, then you're essentially making, what was the percentage? 6.5. So any money that you pay beyond that minimum payment, it's almost as if you're making 6.5% on your investment automatically, right? Because you're getting out of that 509. So making one extra payment a year usually is that saves you about 7 years. So just adding one extra payment, you'll reduce it to 23. Of course, sending double gets you on like 15-ish. But so that would reduce the interest by almost half. So the sooner the better. That's why people try to get out as soon as possible. Or some people send like their income tax every year, just trying to get out. Anyway, that's for 6.85% rate. Rates are going up again. They've been historic lows for like the last 5-7 years, but they're no longer super low anymore. I think they're going up to past 4 and 5 now. Yeah, because they're trying to battle inflation, so rates are going to go up. That's the only way to reduce inflation. Which sucks, but party's over.
It's time to get back to life.
Yeah, that's just how it is. All right. Anyway, so that's number 2 on the homework. So you have questions similar like this, so ask you to find the down payment, how much you're gonna borrow, and deal with the point system, that type of stuff. Yeah, I think we had the first couple of recessions, they lowered the rates to help us out, but now we have inflation, so they gotta raise it. They gotta raise it, just how it is. Okay. Oh, it's similar, so let's see if there's something different. Okay, this one looks interesting. So I'll write that question down real on the paper in just a moment. Oops. Let's do the examples. It's not the same. Okay, so I'm gonna write this on the paper. So a small cabin is $25,000. So this is example 2. Oh, a small cabin is 25,000. So I know why banks are super rich, right? The banks get free money from the government almost, and then they lend it to us for interest, just make money off of money. So rates were is almost zero for them, but we had to pay the interest. So they just make money just because. It's kind of sweet to own a bank. So the bank requires a 5% down payment. The buyer is offered two mortgage options. $20-year fixed at 10%, or 30-year fixed at 10%. Calculate how much interest for each option. And how much they save with the 20-year. Okay. Okay, so let me write option 1 here. Let's get it all down. Option 1. Small cabin for 25,000. The buyer is offered 2 mortgage options. So option 1. $20-year. So let me go ahead and just write the variables. How much are they actually borrowing though? Right? Because they say they want 5% down. What's 5% of 25,000? So multiply 25 times 5%. Looks like 1250, right? So if I'm putting that down, I'm actually borrowing 23,750. So the principal is 23,750. The rate are both 10% or 0.10. Time for the option one is 20 years. Right? N will be 12 because we're paying monthly payments. So that's option one right there. Option two, the principal will be the same, 23,750. Rate will be 0.10. The rates didn't change. The only thing that changed was the time, right? So I'm going to calculate that formula twice, then figure out how much I've paid in 20 years versus 30 years. It looks like the only thing I'm going to have to change is the time. So you can just reuse the formula on your calculator. Make it easy. So for number one, payment is equal to principal 23,750 times R over N, right? Yeah. Divided by 1 minus some nonsense. 1 plus R over N, where R is 0.10 over N. To the negative NT. So negative 12 times 20. We're gonna do the exact same formula twice, just change that 20 because everything else is the same, right? So what is that gonna give us for payment? Gotta plug all that garbage in. So it'd be 23,750 times 0.1 over 12 divided by parentheses 1 minus parentheses 1 plus point of fraction 0.1 over 12 to the negative 12 times. Don't use a subtraction. Negative symbol times 20. Okay. So round to the nearest dollar. I believe they just used 229, but let me check. That's what we did. Yeah, they round, yeah, they keep it to 229. Cool. So the payment is $229 a month, right? So 229 for 20 years, how much is that? Total paid in 20 years. It's gonna be 229 times 20 times 12.
54,960.
50 what?
54,960.
54,960. Sounds about right. So I'll do the same garbage again, option 2. Payment will be the same thing. Exact same thing. Just change that thing to 30. Right there, the time. Everything else will be a copy. Only because they didn't change the interest rate or anything else. Forgot to put 12 here. That's it. So if you redo the last calculation, just change the 20 to 30. So that gives me 208. So total paid. And 30. That would be 2. Shit. $208 times 30 times 12. You guys get 74,000. Okay, so what did the question ask us to do, right? They said, calculate how much interest for each option. We got the totals. We mortgaged 23,750. So I'd have to do the next page, but for option 1, you take the total. Subtract the actual amount, which is 23,750. So this is the interest I paid for option 1, the interest for option 2. We'll do that on the next page. Damn, man. Interest is equal to 54,960 minus 23,750, which we got to be 31,210. Option 2, interest is equal to 74,880 minus 23,750, which gave us 51,130. So you see how, if you look back here, right? Doing a 20-year loan, but doing a 30-year loan is nice, so you get lower payments. But at the end of the day, you're going to pay more in interest. So same thing and with more expensive homes, right? like, oh, I can't afford the house at 20-year or 15-year, but at 30, it's affordable. But you're gonna end up paying it way more at the end of the day. So that's something that a lot of people have to deal with. So try your best to make extra payments. If you do get a 30-year, one day just send, or if you already have one, send extra. That way it can be closer to the 15-year or 20-year type of situation. At bare minimum, like the least you could do is send one extra payment a year. Like at least do that. If you're not gonna do anything, do that.
Is that one extra payment a month
It's per year.
or just one extra payment a year?
Like income tax season, just send an extra whatever. Right, and that'll knock off 7 years. So it'll take your 30 to 23, which is not bad. You're still gonna pay a ton at the end. If you can send more,
Money.
yeah, you're still saving a ton of money. On like a $200,000 house, you're probably gonna save probably like over 50K just by doing that. So if you can send more, that's great. If not, you're just gonna have to eat that cost over time. You know, if you start making more money as you get older, then send that money. All right, so this is the interest we paid. So how much more interest did I lose on that option 2, or did I pay? So I will save, oh, how did the question worded? I forgot. It said, how much is saved? So I will save $19,920 with the 20-year loan. Any questions on that? Like when you go buy a car too, right? They're like, oh, they try to ask you, like, they try and trick you into by thinking, oh, here the payment is super low, you should buy this. And you're like, oh, I can afford that, but we don't know what kind of stuff they've tacked on to the loan. So like, don't fall for that crap. Oh, you want the warranty, or you want the special tire nonsense, or the oil changes for 10 years? Like, no, you know what? I just want the car. And the best thing you want is the lowest rate. At the end of the day, that's what matters. And if you do buy a new car, consider refinancing after the first year, or maybe the first few months, assuming your credit's decent. Or when your credit gets better, refinance for sure. Okay. Yeah, that's all you got to do. So do the calculations for the 20 and 30, find the totals, find the interest, and then compare them. Okay. On number 6, it's very similar. They're going to ask you in terms of paying less in interest. So basically, what is a better deal? Which is more economical? $190,000 mortgage at a 30-year fixed 10% or 20-year fixed 9.5%. How much is saved in interest? Now, it should be, from the examples we've been doing, it should be obvious, right? That the less amount of time, the lower the interest, obviously, should be better in terms of interest. But that payment will be higher. Okay. So what I want you to get from this is, if the percentages, interest rates are the same, the time variable will save you money by lowering the time. Obviously, if the rate is lower, then that's better. And if you have both, that's great. Usually you'll see like on billboards, like the 15-year loans are like half 30-year. I think the 15 is about, now it's at like 3%, over 3%. 30-year for a house right now, I think is probably getting close to 5 or 6 now, which is pretty high because it's been under 4 for the last 6 years. So it's pretty surprising. So that should start lowering prices of homes the next few years. Okay, so I'll just let you guys deal with those. It's the same type of stuff. Yeah, let's see if we have time for the next one. This is credit cards. Now let's find out how they screw us with credit cards now, right? Okay. So I'm sure you've noticed if you've had a credit card in the past, right? If you don't pay it off right away, they tack on that interest at the end of the billing period. The amount of interest would be based on the average daily balance. So what they do is they take, so if you didn't hit 0 before that payment was required, then they're going to average how much you owed every day. Find out what was the average you owed, and then divide that by the number of days in the billing period. So if your payment is every 30 days, divide by 30, that'll be your average balance. So the interest on that will be what you owe them. So whenever you have a car that you want to pay it off every month, and if you don't, you're going to lose whatever rate you have, right? So if it's a 20% credit card rate, and you owe $100 and you didn't pay it, then they'll charge you $20, right? Etc. Anyway, so part A, what they're going to ask you to do, it's pretty straightforward. We don't have much time, so let's just talk about it. Let me share the screen before I forget. Okay, so these are your transactions. It says the credit card, the transaction described on the right uses the average daily balance method to calculate interest. The monthly interest rate is 1.5% of the average daily balance. Calculate A through D on the right here. Okay. The part A says, find the average daily balance for the billing period. Okay. So the beginning of the billing looks like it's March 1st all the way to the 31st. So the beginning of the month till the end of the month. How many days is that? Looks like 30, right? All right. So what is the average? So how much am I going to have to pay? What is the average daily balance? My previous balance, so I already owed $6,370. So I'm already in debt. Life sucks, right? I made a payment of $450, and then I went to the restaurant with groceries. My car messed up, $290. End of the month, what is my average daily balance?
Man, I wish groceries was $6.
Right?
Oh, we're looking at that. Like, man.
That was, yeah. Groceries got expensive during the pandemic. Everyone was staying home buying groceries. Like, it went up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Now it's up more because of inflation and other reasons. But, oh well, that's how it goes. So if I owed $6,370 and I paid $450, right? So at that point, let's see, how much, what would it be at? $5,920. So at this point, I owe $5,920. Then we gotta add all this garbage. So 70, 60, 290. That's not good. Zero. So add all this stuff. So 5,920 plus 70 plus 60 plus 290, 6340. So at the end of the billing period, I'm gonna have 6340 on my debt. Sadly, I didn't really shrink that down much, right? That sucks. Now, they're using 1.5% of the average daily balance. Okay. So the sum of the unpaid balances divided by the total number of days. Yeah, total days. Okay. So we're gonna have 6340 divided by 30 days, we said, right? What is that gonna be? 211. Let's see if we got it. So here's the unpaid. We got 6340, right? All right. Number of days. Interesting. Zoom out a bit. Can't see what's going on. Yeah, I think it's gonna take a little too long. We'll stop here. It's a little more complex. We're gonna have to find the average, the number of days that is stayed at each balance, and figure that out. Add them all up, then divide by 31. So
31 or 30?
turns out they said 31, so they're counting one.
One.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll stop here. So we'll finish chapter 7 and then start statistics on Thursday.